This story is titled, My Coworker Stole My Idea and Got Promoted, so I exposed his lies to the entire office. My name is Olivia Carter. I'm 29 years old and I live in Chicago. I work at a fast-paced marketing firm where creativity and innovation are everything. I used to believe that hard work always paid off, that if you put in the effort, you'd be recognized. But I learned the hard way that sometimes the workplace is a battlefield where the dishonest win. At least for a while. It all started with an idea. A brilliant, game-changing idea that I had been working on for weeks. Our company was struggling to land a major client, a high-end fashion brand that wanted a fresh, cutting-edge campaign. It was a golden opportunity. Whoever could pitch the winning idea would secure a massive deal for the firm. I poured my heart into it. I spent late nights at my desk, researching trends, analyzing data, and brainstorming concepts. And then, finally, I cracked it. A campaign that blended classic elegance with modern digital engagement. It was sleek, innovative, and exactly what the client was looking for. I knew, deep down, that this could be the idea that got me noticed, maybe even promoted. But I was careful. I didn't talk much about it. The only person I trusted enough to share my work with was my coworker, Ryan. We weren't exactly close, but we worked on the same team, and he always seemed interested in my ideas. He asked questions, nodded along when I explained my strategy, and even gave me feedback. At least that's what I thought he was doing. The day of the big pitch meeting arrived, and I was ready. Or so I thought. When our manager Mark called Ryan up first, I wasn't worried. I was actually excited to hear what he had come up with. And then, as he spoke, my stomach dropped. His words, his slides, his entire presentation, it was my idea. Every single detail. The concept, the strategy, even the exact phrasing of my key points. He had taken everything I had told him in confidence and presented it as his own. And the worst part? Everyone loved it. I sat there, frozen, as the executives nodded in approval. Mark even smiled, something he rarely did. "Brilliant work, Ryan," he said. "This is exactly what we needed." My heart pounded. I wanted to scream, to stand up and call him out right then and there. But I knew I couldn't. Not yet. Accusing him without proof would make me look bitter, like I was just jealous of his success, so I waited. And then came the final blow. A week later, Mark gathered the team for an announcement. After reviewing the pitches, he said, "We've decided to go with Ryan's campaign. And because of his outstanding work, I'm pleased to announce that he's being promoted to senior strategist." Applause filled the room. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Ryan stole my idea. He got my promotion. I should have let it go, right? Moved on. Focused on my next big idea? That's what people always say. But no, I wasn't going to let this go. Because if I did, it would happen again. I had to expose him. But I needed to be smart about it. So I started gathering evidence. I went back through my emails, my notes, even the timestamps on my digital files. I wanted proof that this idea had been mine from the start. I found everything. My initial drafts, my sketches, even an email I had sent Ryan weeks before outlining the campaign. But I needed more. So I started paying attention. Ryan wasn't as clever as he thought. Now that he had been promoted, he was being given more responsibilities. And it became clear he had no idea what he was doing. During meetings, he stammered through explanations, unable to elaborate on the details of the campaign. Whenever someone asked a question, he deflected, saying he'd circle back later. And then, the moment I was waiting for arrived. One of the executives, impressed by the campaign, invited Ryan to present it again, this time to the client. It was a huge opportunity. But Ryan was nervous, because he didn't actually understand the idea. He had stolen it, memorized it, and repeated it, but he couldn't build on it. He couldn't answer the deep, specific questions that the client would inevitably ask, and that's where I made my move. I went to Mark's office the day before the presentation. I sat down, placed my laptop on his desk, and said, "I need you to see this." I pulled up everything. My drafts, my research, my emails to Ryan. Then, I showed him something even more damning. A recording. See, I had a habit of recording voice notes whenever I brainstormed ideas, and one of them was from weeks ago, a full breakdown of the campaign, long before Ryan ever presented it. Mark's face darkened as he listened. When the recording ended, he leaned back in his chair, running a hand over his face. "This is bad," he muttered. I didn't say anything. I just let the evidence speak for itself. After a long pause, he sighed. "I need to handle this carefully," he said. "We can't afford a scandal." I nodded. "Just make sure he doesn't get away with it." The next morning, the entire office was buzzing. The client presentation was in an hour, and Ryan was getting ready, trying to look confident. But there was a tension in the air. Then Mark walked in. Ryan, he said, his voice cold. Come with me. Ryan froze. I saw his hands tighten into fists, his jaw clench. He knew. He stood up and followed Mark into his office. The door shut behind them. And then the real show began. Because 5 minutes later, Mark called the whole team into the conference room. And he didn't hold back. I've just reviewed some concerning information regarding the campaign pitch, he said. It's come to my attention that the idea was not originally Ryan's. It was stolen. A stunned silence filled the room. Ryan looked panicked, his face pale. No, that's not. But Mark held up a hand. The evidence is undeniable, he said firmly. Then he turned to me. The real credit belongs to Olivia. A murmur went through the room. I felt my heartbeat quicken, but I kept my expression neutral. Effective immediately, Mark continued. Ryan is being removed from his position, and Olivia will be taking his place. There it was. The justice I had fought for. Ryan stammered, tried to protest, but it was over. He had no excuses left. As he gathered his things and left, he shot me a glare. But I didn't care, because I had won, and I had learned something important. Hard work doesn't always pay off immediately. But the truth always comes out. Ryan stormed out of the office, his footsteps heavy with anger and humiliation. I watched him go, a part of me expecting him to turn back, to lash out, to try and save face. But he didn't. He just disappeared through the doors, and suddenly, the air in the office felt lighter. A weight had been lifted. I should have felt triumphant. I had fought for what was mine, and I had won. But as I stood there, absorbing the murmurs of my coworkers, I realized something. I wasn't just relieved. I was exhausted. Weeks of anger, stress, and betrayal had taken their toll. I had spent so much time fighting to expose the truth that I hadn't thought about what came next. And now, next was here. Mark turned to me, a small, approving nod on his face. You earned this, Olivia, he said. We'll discuss your transition into the senior strategist role later today. I nodded, my voice failing me for a moment. When I finally found the words, all I could say was, thank you. The office buzzed with whispers as I walked back to my desk. Some people congratulated me quietly, while others just stared. I could almost hear their thoughts. Some were impressed, some were shocked, and a few probably resented me. That was the thing about exposing a liar. People loved the drama, but not everyone liked the person who pulled back the curtain. I ignored the side glances and sat down, my fingers hovering over my keyboard. I had a promotion. I had recognition. But I also had a lot to prove, because now, this campaign, the campaign that had almost been stolen from me, was in my hands. The client meeting was still happening, only now, I was the one leading it. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and pulled up my notes. It was time to take back what was always mine. The presentation was nerve-wracking, but I had spent so much time refining this campaign that the words came easily. Unlike Ryan, I understood every detail. When the client asked questions, I had answers. When they wanted adjustments, I had solutions. By the end of the meeting, they were impressed. Fantastic work, Olivia, the CEO of the fashion brand said. This is exactly what we've been looking for. The deal was secured. When I walked back into the office, I wasn't just the woman who had exposed a liar. I was the woman who had delivered. And no one could take that away from me. In the weeks that followed, things slowly returned to normal. Well, almost. Ryan's absence left a noticeable gap. Some of his friends distanced themselves from me, and I overheard a few bitter comments about how I had played dirty. But I didn't care, because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't being overlooked. Mark trusted me with bigger projects. My ideas were taken seriously, and most importantly, I never let my guard down again. I had learned a valuable lesson. In the corporate world, talent matters, but so does vigilance. Some people will take credit for your work, some will steal, cheat, and manipulate their way to the top. But if you stand your ground, if you fight with the truth, you win. And I did. What would you have done in my position? Would you have exposed Ryan or let karma handle it? Let me know in the comments.